Hello and good morning from my side also. I will speak in my talk about my journey with the extension for Redfish and the development of this extension and what you can do with the Redfish extension in Checkmk. First, we will start a little bit about information about myself and the company I work for. I'm now at Bechtle since over 25 years, and with monitoring I started, if you want to say it so, already at 99. It's a first year at Bechtle, but the real monitoring journey started then later with our own Nagios implementation settings, and then over Checkmk to this what we do now, as all the monitoring is done with Checkmk in our sites. And as we are Bechtle, do a full service provider for our customers, we also develop our own extension for the needs for our customers. And I think some of you already use or know the extension like the NetApp E-Series from Andre, or the Cisco Meraki monitoring, or the network topology from Thomas, also known from the forum. From my side, I already contributed with the Nutanix extension, now Redfish, and the next project is then what you see here in the slide, the Hyper-V, and we will hope that we can finish this over the next year then. Redfish, what is it? It's a standard defined from the TMTF forum. That's a forum combining the leading industrial companies in the IT industry, and it was built for managing the hybrid converged IT from today in big data centers. And it was built as a replacement for the older IPMI over LAN, for the security needs and also for the performance needs what they had, or what you can do, as IPMI is limited to not all the possible usage what you need in your environment. At the start, it was only for managing servers, but over time it evolved from servers to power distribution units. Now the latest additions are the CDU, the cooling devices, that you can manage the complete infrastructure in your data center with the same protocol or the same standard. And that's, I think, a game changer to before, where you had Modbus, some APIs, some proprietary standards, and now you have one protocol for all your environment or for all your devices in the data center. What helps in a very big way is the tooling that's provided from TMTF. And here it's only an overview of the tooling or tool chain what you have available. There you have some tool like the mockup creator. That's also for myself was the most important tool, as I can get a complete dump of one of the from one Redfish interface, and with the included simulator I can replay this dump or use this dump for the development usage for my dev work then for the Redfish implementation in Checkmk. What's also nice, if you have not all systems live available to make such dumps, the TMTF also provides predefined dumps for standard devices like rack-mounted servers, plate systems, and so on. Now we will take a look at the implementation of Redfish inside Checkmk and what you can do with it. The first start you see, it was nearly 10 years ago in 2016. HPE introduced inside here her ILO 4 interfaces, the first implementation of Redfish. And what you see also, already the first implementation gave nearly all the information what you need for monitoring of hardware systems, like CPU, fans, memory, and so on. And what you also see over the years, the available agents in my repository extended for every new customer what I had with Lenovo or Dell, I built a own agent, and I must maintain every agent for every brand. And that was later very time consuming, and so I was thinking about building my own Redfish generic agent that can monitor all the vendors outside. Mostly in our case it was Dell and HPE, but I had also some Lenovo or Fujitsu customers. And so in 2022 I built the first version of this, what we have now included in Checkmk. The vendors what are supported by the agents are normally all the vendors that support the standard, but tested I had it until now with this, what you see on the slides, like Cisco, Intel, Lenovo, Dell. There are some missing, like Huawei also, but it's also working with their equipment. And we have also vendors like Raritan that don't build servers, but the power distribution equipment. And I must say, that was the first manufacturer that had a real good implementation of this standard in his PDU equipment. Supermicro, it's widely used, but they are, I say, the worst implementation what I had, and so also until now. So you must pay a little bit attention if you have such systems, if it's working like it should. The agent itself consists at the moment from 2 agents. One agent for generic server infrastructure, like plates and rack servers, and one agent for the PDU equipment. Why 2? As PDU equipment, data structure is completely different from the data structure what you have in the generic server environment. And what you see here, as I wrote it as a missing agent, is the CDU equipment. As until now, I have no chance to get my hands on some of the CDU equipment that I can build the agent. If someone here inside the room is using some coolant devices that are supporting Redfish, then please reach out to me. Then we can also implement this, and then we have a third agent for coolant devices, what should be or would be a nice addition to the system. The second part in all the normal checks that are like checks you know in every Checkmk environment, and what's a little bit basic at the moment is the part of the hardware-software inventory. But later I will show some thoughts what I put inside this topic of hardware-software inventory. So we will look first how the integration looks like in Checkmk. Until 2.3, we had a normal MKP, what you need to install, but also what you need to update. And you have to configure your extension manually. Now with 2.4, the Redfish is completely integrated. There's no MKP anymore. And what's also easier, with the actual version of 2.4 or actual patch level, then you have also the latest version of the Redfish extension available. As at the moment, if I get some bug fix or produce some bug fixes, I will make these bug fixes also in the mainline Checkmk repository as a pull request, and that's working in a nice and quick way at the moment. So you should also have then the latest version available. What can we monitor at the moment? That looks like this. You have all the common devices, what you find inside a server infrastructure. There are some types here missing. As at the moment, Dell, for instance, also is supporting Redfish on their storage devices. So it's possible that a little bit is missing, but if someone can provide me with some agent output or so, we can have a look if there are some more checks are possible. Or if someone can reach out to me and say, something is missing, please do it. It's no problem. For the PDUs, that's a bit of fewer checks, as we have only the input lines, the outlets, and the sensors, if available. But I think that's what you need to know if you have a PDU. So when we now look at the agent in detail, that's like this one slide and the next as we had before. What's the important part here for the agent is the configuration. As we will see, the configuration or the query, the data, the fetching of the data from the Redfish interface is sometimes very time consuming. And for this, the configuration of the agent is very important. And we see here this is the configuration like it was until now. You can disable every section what you don't need. And you should do it if you say, I don't want to know everything about my server. I only want to know some special parts. Then deactivate all the other things. That saves some time for the querying of the device. And what was the latest addition to the system, what you see on the bottom right corner, is the setting of cache time. At the moment, or since half a year, you can set for every section our own cache time. And that's also very nice when you see, I have a section that I only want to fetch 1 time per hour. Then you set the cache time for the section and save some time at querying this. What we see now is something like a minimal configuration, but it's possible to query your management system with all sections disabled, and you have the shortest possible runtime for your system state. The result will look like this. You have only 5 services, and in this case only two real services, like the memory summary and the system summary service, or system state service. And the system state service on a Redfish interface provides you the complete system state, the roll-up state in this naming scheme here, the roll-up state of the whole system. I have some customers, they say that's enough. They know the system is working. If there is a problem, you see it. Then you have to go to your management interface and have to look by yourself what's the problem. But you can also do on the same system configuration with all the services. Now you have over 60 services, what you see, and you have every detail what you can get. That's 2 versions of the agent, how you can use it. And I say, yes, that's my preferred way. If it's not takes too long for the agent to query, then I will keep all the details, as I don't want to go first to a remote interface and look and so on. For the PDU, it's not so much what you can configure. It's very basic. The only thing what you can configure on a PDU device is how should the name look like of your outlet. Most PDU have the possibility that you can give names to your outlets, that you know what server is connected, what device is connected. And that was a request from one of the users. He said, oh, I have here nice names on my outlets. Can we use the names as service names? And I was looking inside the problem, and the solution looked like this. We see it's a little bit small on the left side. We see some outlets with names, and you see the names as servers names, and you can filter then with these names also inside Checkmk. But what is more important on this type of PDU is the detailed information you get for every outlet. You see what's the voltage, the frequency, and also the total consumed energy. What's important today for many companies, what energy we used, that you see for every device. But that's device dependent. It's the same, or the same manufacturer of PDUs, but the other model, you only see this. That depends, as it is said most times. But you get a status. Okay. Now we will have a short look in the differences between Checkmk 2.3 and 2.4, as it's mostly the configuration what changed. The special agent config and a little bit the presentation of the data. But The presentation side is only changed as the Redfish agent tries to use most of the built-in functions that we don't, or I don't want to build every function by myself. I want to reuse the existing things, and if there's a change in color or something like that, it also changed inside Checkmk between the version as it's using the built-in functions. The special agent, that's the important thing. We saw before the left side of the configuration, and on the right side we see the 2.4 configuration. What you can see on the first look, you don't have a list anymore. What you have now, you can define for every section what should be done. You go to the section, so you select if it should be fetched, not fetched, or if it fetched with cache time. Then you can insert the cache time. And I would say it was a nice compromise to transfer the two lists of configuration to one list into 2.4. Now you will see in 2.4 there is nothing changed as before, nearly. Over the time of the last year, I added the caching and so on. That's also you see if you have used the Redfish extension with the original delivered MKP from 2.3 that had patch level, I think, 38. And now we are already at patch level 78. That means 40 releases over the last year. And there you see something has happened. So I have also some plans for the future of the extension. And there are 3 points at the moment what I pay attention to or what I'm working on. That's first, as I said, the hardware-software inventory. The second one is, that's interesting. We will see if it happens sometimes in the future, as it also depends on Checkmk itself. It's a discovery mode for the special agent. And the last one, that's more, I think, experimental, as Dell was the first company introducing OpenTelemetry for the eye track. That means with a Dell eye track, you can normally use OpenTelemetry to transfer all the data from the eye track to an OpenTelemetry resolver. So I must see if it's possible to use in a feasible way inside Checkmk. Then you don't need anything to query anymore on the system, but you can say, deliver all the data by yourself. That would be also nice. For the hardware-software inventory first, I put some sorts inside what we have now. It's only the firmware inventory. Yeah, you will now see why firmware inventory. That's in Redfish not a real hardware-software inventory, but you have an endpoint normally in a Redfish interface where you can fetch all the installed firmware on all the components. And that was also such a key feature in my old HPE ILO extension. And so I got some requests after the Redfish release. Oh, we want back this function that we can get our firmware. And so that was the first implementation I have done. The target of the future hardware-software inventory should be a system like you know it from the hardware-software inventory of the network devices, where you see your chassis, you see your line cards, your SPF, and so on. And this is the current situation with the only software inventory. And on the next slide, I have made a small mock-up how a hardware-software inventory can look like in the future. Then you see every component with their name, serial number, part number, what the important information is. If you have a defect, you need to replacement or something like that. And I would think that's a good way, but if I get feedback, it would be nice. What you think about this? And the last point from the future things, discovery mode, why you want to say? Yeah. The problem is, every Redfish interface can have another structure. The agent to discover all the data that you need for the daily or for the monitoring must walk the interface and fetch all the single data by itself. And that costs time. If you can predefine what you need on this interface, then we'll save a lot of time. And that's why a discovery mode, where you get all the important components and you can select then these components, what should be fetched, then the agent can save the passes to these components and can fetch it faster. And faster run or shorter runtime is better, I think. Or everyone knows it. Time out of service checks, time out of special agents, it's a problem in the daily business. And it causes false alarm normally. And the side effect of this all is you as the admin then of such a system can better understand the relations between all the components inside the systems. If we have now a little bit, or if you want to know a little bit more about all the Redfish resources and what are provided from TMTF as the resources, I made a list of some resources, and this list you can find behind the GitHub link, and they are from the key vendors like HPE and Dell and Lenovo. There are the links to the scripting collections, what they have to manage the systems. As this is a very nice thing here with the scripting, someone said, now also DevOps can manage the data center. I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but the software guys can also manage the hardware. So now we have some time for some questions.